All right, video 3 of 3, last one. The last thing I want to talk about is a little bit about mortgages. And so a mortgage is a special kind of long-term note that has real estate attached to it. You guys know what mortgages are. But what we're going to look at is making payments that are equal payments over equal intervals. So we're looking at, instead of making, like, getting a loan and then repaying the whole value at the end, like a bond. So with a bond, we borrowed, $1 million, and then we repay the million at the end, but we only make interest payments along the way. So we're going to look at actually making payments on a loan, which is what everybody does in real life. Okay. So here is an example of an amortization schedule. An amortization schedule shows when you are getting a loan and then you're making payments. And so this particular loan is making annual payments, which is not normal, but I'm going to show you how to do a monthly one as well. So as I look at this amortization schedule, what we did was, it looks like we borrowed $100,000 on January 1. It looks like our payments are $25,709. And at the end of 5 years, our loan balance is 0. As I'm looking at this, I can see the interest rate because it's an annual one. So 9,000 on 100,000 means that this bond is paying 9% interest. And so when you make a payment, some of the payment is interest and some of the payment is principal. You calculate the interest and the rest is principal. So if you write a check to the bank or move it to them, $25,709, they are going to keep $9,000 for themselves, and the $16,709 knocks off of the balance and brings the balance down to $83,291. Then the next year you make your payment, and so on. And so you'll notice that the interest amount decreases over time, and that's because the loan balance is decreasing. As the loan balance decreases, the amount that goes to interest decreases and more goes to principal. So let's look at the journal entries related to this, and then I'm going to have you guys do your own table like this. So when we get the loan, and I don't know why that's italicized. When we get the loan, so in this case, I'm just saying we're borrowing $100,000 cash. So we are going to receive cash of $100,000. And we are going to credit notes payable because we're borrowing $100,000. Okay. And so if this was land, if you bought land and you got a loan, then you would debit land instead of cash, but it's fine. So every time you make a payment, some of the payment's going to be interest and some is going to be principal. So our payment in this particular problem on the third row is making a payment of $25,709. But some of the payment goes to interest. So the amount that goes to interest is going to be debited to interest expense. And the rest goes to principal. So that's going to reduce our loan. So the amount that goes to principal is $16,709. So what you can see is the debits equal the credits. This is the amount of your payment. The amount that goes to interest is calculated at 9%, and the rest goes to principal. So now the balance in the loan, you had a $100,000 loan, you reduced it by $16,709. So now the balance is $83,291. And you would do this journal entry every year, but the amounts would change, the amount that would go to interest versus principal. And you get those from the table. So let's try to create a table on our own. And this is going to be one of your homework problems. So when we do a table on our own, what we've got here is we've got ABC Company signs a $24,500 3-year note on January 1 for a piece of land, which carries an 8% interest rate. Payments are to be made annually in the amount of $95,0682. Now I'm going to show you how to calculate those payments at the end of this video, but I'm giving it to you right now. So this payment is similar to our payment up here. So our payment is $95,0682. So that's the amount we're going to pay. So what happens is you need to calculate how much goes to interest and how much goes to principal. So let's start to fill out this table, and then I'm going to show you guys how to get the numbers. So we borrowed $24,500. Our payment is $95,0682, and we're going to make that payment every year. Now, actually, it would be monthly usually, but then I would have had to make you guys do one of these that it's 3 years. So it had 36 rows, and that's a lot of math. That's a lot of calculations. And so I did annual payments to help you out. So I equals PRT. So what we need to do is we need to take the principal times the rate times time to get the amount that goes to interest, and then the rest will go to principal. So basically for year one, the outstanding amount borrowed is 24.5 at 8% interest. So let's calculate the interest on this first one. So I equals PRT. So we would do 24,500 times 0.08 times, and it's for one whole year. So 12 over 12 or just one, because it's one whole year. So the amount that goes to interest, up there we did 100,000 at 9%, so it was 9,000. But here it's 24,500 times 0.08, so it's 1960. So 1960 is the amount that's going to go to interest. Our payment is 9506.82. So to get the reduction in principal, some of the payment is interest, the rest goes to principal. So take the 9506.82 and subtract 1960. So 9506.82 minus 1960, 7546.82. So that's the amount that goes to principal. And so that amount knocks off of your loan balance. And so once you make this payment, your loan balance becomes $16,953.18. So now what I want you to do is pause the video and I want you to try to fill this in. So the amount that goes to interest the next time would be based on this balance. And so use I equals PRT, but instead of doing 24.5, now you only owe 16,953. So hit pause and then unpause me and I'll fill it in for you. Okay. So we're going to take 16,953.18 times 0.08 and the next payment 1356.25 goes to interest, the rest goes to principal. So take 9506.82, 1356.25 goes to interest. So the amount that goes to principal is 8150.57. So now my loan balance goes from 16,953.18 minus 8150.57. So now my loan balance is 8802.61. Students are often asking me like, well, why would you have to pay 9506 when the loan balance is only 88? But that's because we're going to charge you interest because you're going to wait a whole year to make this next payment. So I equals PRT and our next payment is at 0.08, 704.21. So the amount that goes to principal is 9506.82 minus 704.21, 8802.61. So when you make that payment, now the loan balance is 0. So that's how you build a loan amortization schedule. And that's how you do it by hand. So you'll do this for homework by hand once. And then I want to show you guys how to do it in Excel. So let's take this table and I'm going to show you guys how to do this kind of a thing in Excel. So normally what I do is I ask one of you to tell me about a car that you want to buy. So we're going to have payment number, and then we'll have, and I'm just showing you how to build one of these in Excel. So this is going to help you actually to do your project. So payment number, payment, interest, principal, balance. So let's say, so I just got Lauren a car, and let's say that instead of that I get a loan for it. Okay, so I just bought her a car. It's a 2008, so it's not a new car, and it was $6,200. So let's say that I need to get a loan for that. So buy a car for $6,200. Let's say that the interest rate is let's just use 4%. And let's say 60 months. Okay. Now it's a 2008. So there's no way they would give me a 5-year loan on a 2008. And they probably make me have a higher interest rate than that, but we're just pretending. So the beginning balance on this loan is $6,200. and I'm going to make 60 payments, right? So 60 months or 5 years, right? So I'm going to make payments every month for 60 months. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. I want that to go all the way to 60, but I don't want to type that. So I'm going to do this. So I did 1, 2, 3. See how it's a fat plus right now? And then it's an arrow plus. Go to the side and make it a skinny plus. And then we're going to drag it down, and we're going to drag it down to hit 60. See, there's a little box there and it says how many. I'm 2 and I want to get to 60. So I'm just dragging. 60. Okay. So my payment, I need to calculate my payment, and you guys need to know how to do this for your project. So this will be a good place to come back to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit f of x, and I'm going to search for the function called payment. It's PMT is the function's name, and I'm going to hit OK. So my rate of interest was 0.04, but I'm going to make monthly payments. So 0.04 is an annual rate, so I need to divide it by 12. The number of payments I'm going to make are 60, and the amount of money I'm going to borrow is negative $6,200. You put it in as a negative, so your payment will show up as a positive number, okay? So this is a very nice little payment. How cute. Okay, so $6,200. I put a negative in front of it. So I do not put anything in these 2 rows. This would be if I was trying to deposit money and getting it to grow to a certain amount. And this deals with annuity dues, so you don't have to worry about that. So I put in those numbers and I hit OK. My payment will be $114.18. So to calculate how much goes to interest, and this is important, equals. Do not write a number right here, because then you're going to have to calculate all of them. You have to do it as a function, as a formula. So equals. I'm going to click on the previous loan balance. I equals PRT. So I'm going to click on the 6,200 times 0.04 times, so that's the rate, and it's monthly. So 1/12. Okay. So the amount that goes to interest is $20.67. So the amount that goes to principal is the difference, payment minus interest. So what, 93-ish? Yep, 93 goes to principal. So my loan balance goes from 6,200 down by 93 to 6,106.42. And so it drops the balance by about $93. So here's the big part. All you have to do is highlight those 4. And so see how it's a fat plus, arrow plus, go to the side where it's a skinny plus, and you can drag it down, or you can just double click and it fills all the way down. And if you go all the way down, you'll notice that as time passes, the interest gets less and less and less, and more goes to principal. And at the end, you owe 0. And my very last payment, only 38 cents goes to interest. The rest goes to principal. This table's kind of bothering me because 3 of the columns have dollar signs and the other ones don't. And I want this to be prettier. So if you just highlight all the columns and you just hit the comma button, then it's much cleaner. It looks much nicer. So every single payment. So if you were to do like this payment, when you borrowed the money, you got cash and notes payable. And actually it wouldn't be cash because we bought a car, right? We bought a car, but if it's a loan, you just do cash. Okay. So we borrowed $6,200 to go buy a car. And then the first payment, your payment is $114.18. So some of it will go to interest expense, some of it will go to notes payable, and the credit to cash is the amount of cash you pay, $114.18. The amount that went to interest was $20.67, and the amount that went to principal is $93.52. If you did the next one, then these 2 numbers would change to the second row. And then if you did the third row, you keep going, and the fourth row all the way for 60. So, okay, so to show you what it would look like if you did one of these for a house. So let's say that we buy a house for $160,000 at 5.85% interest for 30 years. Okay, so I'm going to use the same header as before. Okay. So we are going to borrow 160,000 Okay, so, and we're gonna do this for 30 years, monthly, 360. Okay, I gotta go fast because I'm tired of making videos. 360. Ah, too far. Oh, dang it. Okay. All right. You have to at least type a couple numbers before you start that so that it recognizes that it's a series. And so you can just type 1, 2 or 1, 2, 3 and then drag it down. But your payment, f of x, payment 0.0585. I gave you a really weird interest rate on purpose, but divide it by 12. 360 months, and the amount you're borrowing is negative $160,000. So your payment would be $943.91. Interest, click on that. I equals PRT times 0.0585 times 1/12. Wow, look at all that goes to interest. $780 goes to interest. So of your $943 payment, $780 goes to interest. So only $163.91 goes to principal. So your loan balance barely drops. Highlight it all, arrow plus, skinny plus, double click. So by your very last payment of the $943, only $458 goes to interest and the rest goes to principal, and your balance is zero. So that's called an amortization table. So that's it for this chapter. I know it was a lot. Thank you guys for being patient. Next week's going to be super light because chapter 12 is actually very short. So I'll talk to you later. Thank you.